The shearers in the bar were bragging of the great deeds they'd all done. When it all came down to tin tacks, it seemed they all could share the ton. And as they heard each other's yarns and said they could better them by far, no one heeded the lone swaggy, brooding darkly at the end of the bar. Now, for all the years he tramped about, getting work wherever he could, this bloke had always suffered from shearers and their yarns of how they're so good. So now as he listened to their talk, he was burning up inside, and to bring him down a peg or two he did there and then decide. Well, the biggest and ugliest shearer was a bloke called Bluey Spon, and he chanced to remember this swaggy from a station he'd once been on. And he recalled him as a duffer who was troubled to open a gate. So, with a wink to the rest of his cronies, he yells, "Well, if it isn't Stinky, me old mate." Now, as Stinky was at the time engrossed in the foulest schemes, the shearer blurting out his name must have upset him in his dreams, because his stool gave way beneath him, and with a little cry of dismay, he disappeared from the sight of all and to the ashtray found his way. So, amid much coughing and spluttering, Stinky casually regained his seat, and with as much composure as he could muster, the shearer he then did greet. "Why, it's, Rupert Spon, I do declare. Just fancy meeting you here." And to a chorus of laughs from the shearers, he proceeded to spill his glass of beer. "Get over with you," the barmaid cried. "Leave the poor little bugger alone. If you don't mind, Mr. Swag," he said, "I can handle this on me own. Now, you shearers think you're pretty smart, though, far be it from me to say. There's something I think I can beat you at. That is, if you're willing to play." Well, Bluey damn near cacked himself, and his sides near split apart from laughing at this little bloke who seemed to be so flaming smart. So when he finally caught his breath and eased his face of its toothless grin, he says, "I'll take you on at anything, mate. And here's 10 quid to say I win." Now, this caught Stinky out a bit, I guess it's needless to say, for there wasn't a game on all the earth that the silly bugger could play. So he decided in this time of stress that he'd better play it cool, and he reckons, "We'll have a go at croquet, mate, though I don't suppose you know the rules." Now, when it came to reckoning and all was said and done, when you compared their knowledges of croquet, they matched up none to none. But Bluey opened up his trap and said, "Oh, I haven't got a clue." So Stinky sighed, "We'll need an umpy, I guess I'll just have to do." Well, they assembled then outside the pub and the croquet course was set. But Stinky wouldn't strike a blow till all the rules were met. And as mallets and croquet balls weren't bountiful up the bush, they had to use dried paddy melons with sledgehammers to give them a push. They tossed a coin and Bluey won and elected thence to bat. He thought he could give the stick a shake if he had a decent whack. So he lifted high his hammer and swung through nice and clean, to be lost in a great big cloud of dust, rising where the ball had been. "To break the ball is not allowed," old Stinky said with glee, and Rule 27 clearly states, "That's 50 points to me." And learning thus from Bluey's Bluey gently tapped his ball, but it stopped well short of its goal, the peg. In fact, it didn't move at all. Well, the game went on in likewise style through that weary afternoon, and though Stinky's ball never moved that much, his lead it grew and grew, because Bluey always made mistakes whenever he hit the ball, because he didn't know the rules. But Stinky knew them all. Well, at last poor Bluey had had enough and had to admit defeat. This was certainly not a game at which Stinky he could beat. When the score was tallied up, the swaggy had clearly won, with a total of 3,572 to the shearer's 21.